Working Class on DeerCast here in the studio. Thank you, first of all, guys, for being here. Brian, you're in the hot seat.
Let's do this.
Cody, you're my co-host.
All right, let's go.
You guys are both from Drury Outdoors. Thanks for coming all the way in from Nebraska to be in studio. That's why we love you guys.
Yeah, no problem. Pleasure's all ours. So
hopefully the drive wasn't too bad, and hopefully this is worth it.
Oh, yeah.
Because the last one we did, we recorded via Zoom, which is okay, but it's just not the same. Like, we're going to make a day out of this.
It's definitely not the same, and we were able to do a little business on our road trip here.
Yeah.
It's only 6 hours away, so
it
wasn't too bad.
Not that bad.
I have hunting spots farther than this.
Well, that's the thing, it's some people aren't willing to do that though. Like, I like driving. I think it's therapeutic, like how cutting the grass is for me. It's like I find my sanity in mowing and driving. I think without that, I'm like a loose cannon somewhere. Hunting, of course, in season. But no, thanks, guys, for making it in. And appreciate you guys. Appreciate what you guys do, the hard work. And then, even the extra hard work, for Drury for filming because I don't want to do it. Because that's a headache. But you guys do it all the time. You guys have been doing it for a long time. How long have you guys been filming?
I mean, it's fun. And that's what I like about this joker right here is, I got the bug just like everyone else. I was probably in high school, bought my first camera, and you become more passionate about the film than you do the deer itself.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny how Cody and I even met over it. It's because of the filming aspect. And I have a twin brother. I have friends, and we'd film, but those guys weren't as passionate about the videoing, and so we'd get burnt out. And
probably not even the hunting, really, because you got to be like crazy ate up with the hunting. It's like, were you burning them out on just the filming or the hunting?
Well, both of it together. Right? So a lot of guys like to be behind or in front of the camera, but not necessarily behind it, and which is great, But I found myself having just as much or more fun with the video camera.
Right.
And it's kind of a funny story. My sister knew Cody way before I did, and we grew up in town like 15 miles apart.
Yeah.
We played baseball against each other. Probably football.
Football, baseball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so anyway, one year I had this monster deer showing up, and a couple years prior, Cody and I actually met for the first time at spaghetti night at the bar in Brunswick, Nebraska.
Never heard of a bar having a spaghetti night.
Spaghetti night on women's red hat evening. They're all in there, spaghetti.
It's like a gang?
Yeah, like a little Brunswick gang there, town of 100 people.
Okay. Nebraska's, you got something different going on out there. All right.
Bunch of red hats, and then Cody and I at the bar, and my sister's the bartender.
Spaghetti.
So Cody had a professional video camera. I had that, and growing up in Nebraska, we might have had 5 bow hunters in the county at the time.
Yeah, that's shocking to me a little bit, but.
And granted, we didn't know everybody. I didn't know everybody, but very few people.
But if you're a serious hunter, like most of the dudes who are serious about it, at least,
Very few. And Cody was one of them. And then I saw him post on Facebook that he had got a professional camera, and, followed him, and, we followed each other and never talked. And then we met each other that night, exchanged numbers.
Over spaghetti.
Over spaghetti.
Yep. Romantic.
Yeah. Romance started.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. So anyway, the first year had passed, and I believe this is 2012 or 13. I can't remember for sure.
It'd been 13 is when I got my camera, so it would have been.
Okay, so 13, and then the following year it was September 2nd, and I pulled cameras that day, and it was, Nebraska just started opening season September 1, and I had this world-class deer we named Westerkamp coming into this food plot every night. So I called my buddy I guided with.
Yeah.
Joe, great guy. He didn't want to film or couldn't film. Called a couple of my other buddies. No one could come and film this deer. And I'm thinking, I'm killing this deer tonight,
Yeah, so it's go time.
So I called Cody, and he's a mechanic, and you were working that day? Or?
Yeah, working, running the shop, and
So what did you think when I called you?
Well, I was like all in. I didn't know what I was going to get myself into. saying yes,
Yeah.
But I'm going to go film you.
So it was like a last ditch. Like you're kind of like, I got to call him and see if we can get this deer killed on film.
Yeah.
And it was probably 11 in the morning.
Yeah, it was
for that day.
Yeah.
Mid morning. Like, hey, can you go? I'm like, told my secretary, "Yep, I'm gone."
Really?
So we met at probably 2:00 out on the highway, and that started me and Cody's epic filming partnership. Was that day.
That's pretty cool. That's a way to kick it off.
Yeah.
So how'd the hunt end up going?
Well, we hunted for that deer 10 times. We saw him 4 out of the 10 times. It was a rising moon. Everything that, DeerCast shows, granted, DeerCast wasn't invented at the time, but we had this super moon coming up on September 11th that year. And was it, what do you call it, the super moon that year?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And anyway, this buck was just following that moonrise. I mean, it was clockwork. And the first night where we were sitting in a tree stand, we think he might have caught a touch of our wind, but he came out into the food plot about 80 yards away. Mm-hmm. And so then midday, the next day or whatever, we moved this ground blind. And I don't know how many times we'd hunted, but we had great access to it. We had to cross this creek that's like knee high to hunt this place for access. And then the one night, I think it was September 10th, the night before the supermoon, he's out there right in front of us for like an hour. I mean, we got some of the best film we've ever got of a big whitetail.
Really?
And he was 68 and a half yards away. And never saw him.
Your phone might be on the table, might be, if you don't mind.
So
Did you guys hear that? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all good.
So he was 68 and a half yards away, and Cody and I are, we've barely maybe seen a deer this big ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know, what were you thinking running the camera?
I was in shock. Like the way it came out of the timber and with all the other deer in the food plot by us was just crazy.
How big is this buck?
He's big.
180, and he had a kind of a broken beam on the front. So, I mean, he was 180, which for Nebraska, that's a giant,
Giant anywhere, man.
Yeah, I mean.
I used to guide, and the biggest deer we'd ever guided was 187 as a mainframe 8. And we were hunting a deer in 12 that scored 201 as a 4-year-old. But like the last 10 years in Nebraska, if you count Westerkamp, I've only had 3 deer on camera that would have scored over 170.
Really? Yeah, 180s, dude, is a giant anywhere. It's like you tap into another realm of whitetail when you get into the one. I mean, high 70s, but 80s, it's like, what is that thing? That's awesome. Yeah. So go ahead. I'm interrupting.
Oh no, it's good. So we started filming together, and I would say the neatest part about our relationship, and I thank God for putting us together, but we like filming probably more than we like hunting, and it's very unselfish. And if someone loves to film, find someone who loves it as much as you, because for us, we'll come into the evening. DeerCast is great, and okay, where's our best chance to kill tonight? Mm-hmm. And if it's Cody 7 nights in a row or 7 times in a row, we hunt Cody every time. Mm-hmm. And if it's me, then I'll hunt every time. Or most of the time it doesn't quite end up that way, depending on wind and situation and what deer's showing up, obviously. But it's very unselfish, and
that's a good tip though, because I think everybody wants to be, not everybody, you know what I'm saying, like everybody wants to be on a hunting show or have a hunting show or film or podcast now or whatever it is, and everyone is searching for, like, you're either doing it on your own, which is a pain in the butt, or you have somebody that you're going to do it with. And then I'd say most times it doesn't work out because of like your previous experience, like burnout or who knows, life situations or whatever. But a lot of times it's like, well, if you're trying to be the star of the show all the time and he's trying to be the star of the show all the time, you're going to collide eventually. Yeah. So that's a good tip. Like, have somebody that's, one, you got to just be on the same level with each other, which it seems like you guys are. That's a huge tip though. Mm-hmm. If someone's wanting to truly get into outdoor content as a team, which really ups the chances of your success, is to have somebody do it with you. But no, that's killer advice.
And even the way we film is very similar. We've been on the same page before the Tacticams came out. We used Garmin Verbs and had 15 of them. Yeah. we film with 14 Tacticams, the multiple angles when we're together. And we both have a passion about that because we want, a lot of guys kill a deer. There's a lot of recreates, and people can see through the fakeness of that.
For sure. Yeah.
And our objective is have so many Tacticams that you can't miss it. You can't miss that authentic reaction
or the deer coming in. Or,
because if you're like, oh, all right, now react like you just shot them.
Yeah.
That's a bummer.
Yeah.
So we've always both had a passion about that, and honestly, we've kind of followed that technology through. And the Tacticams are so easy these days, and we use those. He's got his cameras on his remote. I have mine on my remote. And it's.
We just bought 3 of those new Tacticam 6.0s. Not a sponsor of Working Class Bowhunter, for the record. So if they suck, boys, I'm going to talk about it.
All right, you do that. Hey, we'll just say it this way: it may be the operator.
Yeah,
probably. I don't need to say anything else. We'll see. Probably the operator.
We've had great luck with them and love them.
I've heard good things, and that's what prompted me to buy them. Because we don't film, partially because the work of it. Like, I like to this is my realm of interest with the hunting media culture, whatever. And I just like to hunt and not have to worry about anything. But it's when the hunt's over, kind of like Cody, what you were saying is like you get everything organically because you guys put in the work to set it up. I'm like, man, I wish I would have had something to at least get the shot or maybe my reaction for a memory. Like, and we've filmed some hunts in the past. They're not high end production. I'll never claim that we do that. They're more selfish home videos that we just put on YouTube. And
a memory to keep.
It's a memory to keep. If somebody wants to watch it on our YouTube, then go for it. But if not, it's not hurting our feelings. So, well, I'll show you after we're done podcasting today some of our hunt videos and let you guys just be like, gosh.
Should we take ibuprofen ahead of time?
I'll give you some beers.
All right, that'll work.
I'll give you like a beer and a whiskey or two, so you're like, this is pretty good. Not bad for a bunch of idiots. But no, I do appreciate like the work that goes into it every time that I watch like anything on DeerCast. It's like, because it's more than what I'm doing to get hunts on film by far. So I don't know how you stay motivated to film.
It's a grind.
I love it. I don't know about you, but
late season, especially like for me, I soul film a lot.
Yeah.
So that takes a little toll.
So you're saying there's sometimes you're just like, screw all this stuff.
Yeah. It's like,
and you never have that?
No, he hunts more than I do.
Way more.
But no, it's one of those things like I would rather kill a 140-inch deer on camera than a 160-inch deer not on camera.
Really? Okay.
Because I like the video aspect that much.
Yeah. I can respect that. I get it.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. That's just how I'm wired. And
I get it. All right, boys. So we talked film a little bit, and I know we're gonna do a couple of podcasts today. We're gonna probably talk filming again and content stuff. But I want to talk like right now. We're coming into June here. We are in June when this launches. What are you guys doing for deer? Because turkey season just ended. I want to talk about deer. I want to talk about things with antlers. Like right now, what are you guys doing, or what are you gearing up to do for your season?
So this is the time to really get ahead of the game. And, like right now, where my main property is in northeast Nebraska is there's not a ton of crop around there. And so any spring plots I've ever had here, and I have 2 food plots in 77 acres. One is about 1.5 acres. One is just under half an acre.
Okay.
If I plant them now, they'll be gone. And so I'm doing just fall plantings only. And so right now is basically about weed control. Okay. Because, and Cody can attest to it, if we did nothing, I mean, it'd be crazy.
6-8 foot tall.
So are you guys, so I'll have a lot of questions for my own, like learning. I'm becoming my own little deer farmer myself. Like I just got a new tractor and I'm starting to get more into plots, and I have been for the last few years, and I'm doing the same thing. Like this year I'm doing fall. I have some clover plots established that I'm just keeping mowed up to keep the weeds out of them or whatever. But I'm planning this year, all my new plots I'm planting are fall plots. And I just mowed out one new fall plot that I'm going to put in. Should I spray that now? Like, are you guys spraying them for weeds?
I did.
Okay.
Some guys will tell you to plant buckwheat as a cover crop. Because of our drought the last handful of years, I've never been able to get it to grow. Oh. So we just keep it killed off or mowed off.
Doesn't that add like nitrogen into the soil?
I'm not sure exactly.
Yeah.
And that brings up a good point of like my strategy for fall food plots is just like when you see farmers rotate corn one year to beans the next year, right? Well, corn is a nitrogen user, beans are a phosphorus user, and then they give away what works for the other. So they help fertilize each other almost. Well, that's what I do with my food plots as well is, you look at like winter peas and those things. those are phosphorus users like a soybean is, brassicas, radishes, those are nitrogen users. And so then I rotate it.
Okay.
So half of my acre and a half, I have 1 acre of one, and then a half acre of the other. And then whatever I have the half acre of, quarter mile down the road is where my smaller food plot also has that.
Okay.
And
Cool.
And so, I'm basically utilizing the same ideas that farmers are using.
Right, for deer.
And for those guys on a budget, if you just hammer brassicas every year, you notice year 1, awesome. Year 2, pretty good. Year 3, all of a sudden your food plots are looking worse. That's because you utilize all the nitrogen.
You gotta give back to the soil a little bit.
Bingo.
Yeah.
So you guys are just like laying the foundations now and mapping out like what you're going to prep for the fall, getting ahead of it. Yeah. You're creating less work for you when you're like, shit, we're running late on everything. We got to get stuff in the ground.
100 degrees in July. And we'll be out there.
Okay, smart. I'm trying to keep up and do the same thing, I guess. So that makes me feel good. Kind of on schedule for now.
Well, it's way easier to do hinge cutting and timber stand improvement when it's 70 degrees outside or 80 degrees outside than it is 95 and 90%.
So you're doing a lot of that too, right?
Yep.
Now.
I did a lot more last year than I've done this year. But yeah, basically you're setting up bedding, right? You're going to have doe groups bed real close to the food. And so you're focusing on, doe bedding real close to the plot where you can enter without those does seeing you. And so maybe right against the plot, you might want it to be kind of some open timber, but get 50 yards, 60 yards off the plot where they can't see you enter your stand. Create some bedding, side cover, right? Deer don't care about, a roof over their head. They want side cover.
Yeah.
So, some hinge cutting, letting that sunlight hit the forest floor, even just taking Tordon and killing some of the canopy trees can help that sunlight hit the forest floor and create that side cover. And then go a couple 100 yards off of that, that's your buck bedding areas.
I gotcha.
And last year that worked, literally perfect for us.
Yeah.
The bucks had to have been 150 yards off the plot because we got in there. We got in there early on this particular plot. It's the plot I killed. Bighorn is what we called them. And anyway, they were right on the edge of the plot. They had to have been because we were there for 20 minutes and boom,
they were there.
Yep.
So that's always been like something super intimidating to me is like anything to do with like cutting trees or spraying, anything that can be like majorly impactful, I guess. Or I look at it as like major consequence. Like I don't want to go in like hinge cut the wrong spot and be like, I should have done it over here. You know what I mean? Like I'm a little indecisive. I'm not as confident yet with that type of thing. Did you guys ever go through that a little bit before, or did you just go for it?
You always do. You can undo. You can't when you kill a tree. You can't undo it, right?
Yeah, that's what scares me.
And most guys I would say might do too much of it. Right. So you want to just focus on certain areas. And, a lot of guys have heard, the rule of thirds, right? You might hinge cut a third. You might let a third go. You might just kill trees and a third or just, drop them. But the biggest thing is, the best deer hunting property is that pasture you drive by that has a bunch of 10-foot tall trees and you can't walk through it.
Yeah.
If you go drive by that place with 40, 50-foot tall trees that looks like a state park, the deer aren't attracted to that as much as they are that scraggly looking place that you're like, man, this looks like an ugly place to hunt.
Yeah, someplace you don't want to go into because it's so dense or whatever. Yeah,
but it's a whitetail mecca.
Yeah, I'm learning that a little more. I hunted a farm for the first time last year that was built like that. Like, and I thought honestly, it's not as appealing to your eye. But I'm like, I didn't think there'd be deer in it like there was, and I was very surprised at what it is. And it's the cover, it's the side cover they have. Like, but also made it great too for me. I think this kind of goes in like what you're saying. I was able to get entry and exit in there pretty, I don't want to say easily, but easier than if it was big, tall, canopy, mature, like oak timber or something like that. Right. So it allowed me to slip in and slip out of there. But you're doing that to your benefit with strategy with your hinge cutting and spraying and stuff like that.
Yep.
So you're doing it for bedding and your entry and exit. It's like dual purpose.
And it could be something as simple as, April 15th for us is when like a lot of the spring grasses are a few inches tall. It could be as simple as putting a Roundup. I have a backpack sprayer, right? And just spraying Roundup on all that green grass. That'll kill all your cool seasons and allow your warm seasons to grow. That's super easy. And on a budget, if you're trying to create thick grass cover, sometimes that's all you have to do.
Oh, really? I never even thought about that. See, all this stuff's like kind of new to me. You know, I'm learning a lot of this through Austin Chandler. He's pretty knowledgeable on like farm land management stuff, but I think it's fun. You know, it's fun to go out there and like control or change things to the deer's and to your benefit. You know, it's all interesting stuff. But I feel like that's like there's a lot of questions that come up in the podcast game, especially on this topic. Like, what are you looking for when you hinge cut? Like, so let's just get into that. Like, how do you know where you want to hinge cut?
It's basically, you know, has to do with the distance and proximity, right? So if you have that spot where you're like, all right, does, I want does to bed here because I can get in my stand. Okay, well that's where I start the hinge cutting, right?
Yeah.
Because I can get in and get out without deer seeing me.
So it's not a spot you look at on a map and you go, okay, that spot needs hinge cut. It's this is how I'm going to hunt the deer. I'm going to hinge cut here because this is how I'm going to hunt them. So really, there's no right or wrong. It's just how you want to hunt it.
You know, and I'm by no means an expert here, and so
but it's worked for you.
Worked.
So yeah,
it worked. Yeah, I would say we're not experts. We're just bohemians out there with chainsaws, right? But yeah, that's kind of the way I approached it. Thinking of the sunlight and you know the sunlight's coming from the south, and where could I see deer bedding?
Yeah.
And starting from there. And doing that maybe in several locations around the food plot. I have a big kind of U-shaped, J-shaped food plot. And so, you know, off to the northwest, boom, you know, a couple of spots straight north, you know, and then kind of layer past that.
Cool.
You know, it worked last year like a charm. September 21, you know, I shot the biggest deer I had on camera, a 5.5-year-old deer. Not the deer we were hunting, but we saw the deer we were hunting. And then this deer came in, I shot him.
The thing is, like, you know, we're not experts, what you said, but if it's producing results, it's working.
Right.
Like, you guys can talk about like, yes, it probably helped because of this. Like, and that's really all anybody can really talk about. Like, you know, someone can say they're an expert, but you know, real work, real results, it's right there. Like, yeah, you guys know what you're doing. You know, so
and water's been a big deal for us because in Nebraska, we just didn't get rain. And so, you know, water's been a big deal for us as well.
Didn't we talk about water a little bit?
Yeah,
Let's touch on that again, though, because it's something I see now, and maybe we talked about this too. I see guys put in like kiddie pools that they're digging, which is funny, but there's some companies that make like, you know, like artificial water holes. And I think you said you just put like a cattle trough out, don't you?
Yeah. So I just, you know, went to Tractor Supply, Baumgars. They have, it's like a 110-gallon tank. It's like $80. Right. You know, and it's a chore to dig them in.
Yeah.
But so like my bigger property is 51 acres, and granted they're quarter mile from each other. They're same block of timber basically.
Yeah.
It has a spring creek in there. We still have a water tank there just to have a spot to get cameras and pictures of. But on the western, there's no water around unless you go over the hill down the same spring creek that I'm hunting. And so, and then to the south of there's no water until you hit a pretty big creek bottom, and so I have the closest water to anything south.
Okay, and
that's how I killed that deer spider 2 years ago. It was November 7th. It was a DeerCast pour, I think.
Yeah, pour. Hot.
Was it pour? It was very hot that day. It was like 80 degrees, and
it's a bummer. And, just looking at that, you're like, dang it.
Yeah.
You know, not a rut day you would expect to hunt, but it was so hot. I'm like, this deer needs water.
Yeah.
I got the water. Went in there that night. My camera's malfunctioning. Cody's, I can't remember what you were doing.
I was hunting somewhere else.
I actually drove from the Quad Cities that morning.
Really?
To go hunt that deer.
Why were you in the Quad
my wife's from there, or my wife's family's from the Quad Cities, so they had a family reunion. I took off at like 4 a.m. to go hunt that deer in 80-degree weather. Thought I was crazy.
Yeah, I would have thought you were crazy.
I got there and killed him that night.
All right, so there's some things I want to unpack here. One, shout out to you for reading DeerCast backwards, because you kind of did.
Right.
Like, DeerCast is like, hey, Brian, it's shitty. And you're like, yeah, but I got your water. That's like, you basically took the bad, all right, what do I got that's good on this particular bad, and water. Like, okay, that's awesome. Shout out to you for kind of acknowledging that or putting in the work to do that. And then, okay, so you're burying the cattle trough in like the creek So it puddles?
No, these are just kind of on top of the hill. We're just digging them into the dirt.
Oh, I got you.
And actually, that one I hadn't dug into the dirt yet.
So it's just sitting.
It was
on
just
top
sitting
of
on
the
the
plot.
ground. Yeah, it's dug in now, but it wasn't at the time.
And you're just let it fill naturally, or you're just filling it with a hose? And
yeah, so we took Cody actually got a hold of
some bulk tanks from like sprayers, you know,
For free.
food grade stuff, you know, bulk tanks.
Yeah.
250 gallons, whatever.
Oh,
Fill
okay.
them up.
So we filled them up. My stepdad has a water tank that we dug in when I was a kid. And so I just drove over there, filled it up, 120 gallons or whatever, and pulled over in the back of my pickup.
Yeah.
And they're just light enough I can load it by myself, you know?
Yeah. So, and then after you fill it once, does it stay full, or do you have to go out and refill it every year? Or like,
For me, it's about once a month. I don't know. You would probably...
It varies, but yeah, you got to fill them a couple times.
Yeah.
Like last year, I filled mine up like 3-4 times.
So I wonder how it would be
summer.
for me here in Illinois. I wonder if we get enough rain during the summer that it'd stay moderately full.
You may. You know, we're driving by the highway, and every block of timber we see, there's no cattle in them, right? And so it just looks gnarly and nasty. And Cody, I'm like, oh man, there's a 200 in that.
Yeah, easy, boys, easy.
Yeah, he always goes like, yeah, there's a big buck in there. Like, well, there's a lot of little ones too.
Yeah, a lot of little ones too. Yeah. No, the water thing is so interesting to me, and I think I'm probably kind of repeating some of my same interests from when we recorded the first time. Like, I just don't. Water is not high on my list of like a feature or an attractant that I'm gonna hunt.
Pictures. Think of it. For me, I like the pictures, right? Because your food plot's so big, you're never going to catch every deer with trail cameras. But if you have a water tank, it just seems like there's a better place to, I don't know what you want to centralize, maybe a little bit of movement.
Yeah.
For pictures really only. Because, you know, we're not out there putting corn or blocks because, you know, we can't and we don't. You know, so that's a way for us to at least have a spot, a place.
Yeah, you guys can't supplemental feed at all?
We can in the wintertime, and you can during season. You just can't hunt near.
I got you, yeah.
You can't hunt over it or near it.
Oh, okay.
You know, and because we film, like, we don't even come close to there.
Yeah.
Right?
Illinois, you can't do anything fun anywhere, hunting or not. But, yeah, you know, so I have a new structure plot I'm going to put in. I'm starting to just nerd out on this stuff more. I'm probably driving my wife even more nuts than I need to. Like, you know, I just mowed in like the shape of my fall plot. So now it's just starting to get tall enough. I mow it in. I know where I'm going to be and I can maintain it. Then when I go to spray, and then maybe I should spray now. That's kind of why I was asking. I don't know. But, you know, I have a spot and I have a tank. It's like, man, I want to try it and just see, like you said, put a camera over it. It'd be cool to kind of compare notes. Like, okay, how hot is it there? Let's see. And, you know, it'd be area where you're going to put it in deer density and stuff. But I'd be interested to see, like, how often deer hit my artificial water. It's like, I got to check this. I wonder if that's even legal in Illinois.
I don't
so.
know. Illinois.
I wouldn't think it would be because it's just water. There's tanks out for cattle all over, but there's salt blocks out for cattle.
Yeah, I would check for sure.
I never really thought about it till now. There's no way. How would they ever?
I don't know
how they categorize it.
Yeah.
You can't put water outside.
Not natural water in a tank. You know, I don't know how they'd think about that, you know.
That might seem dumb that we're questioning that, but dude, trust me, we're in Illinois.
Right.
Yeah.
It could be illegal.
I mean, you should check for sure.
I'm going to look now. Now I'm curious. I've tried to pull it up, but it'd take me too long to be on my computer to turn up. Yeah, we'll have to look that up after this episode and see.
I doubt it. I really doubt
I doubt it too, man.
But it is Illinois.
It's Illinois.
Ignorance is not a defense when you're the game wars right there.
But you know, the same thing is like, dude, they sell mineral here in every department store. Every store. Like, you go to Farm and Fleet, Farm King, Menards, you can buy it.
People are using them. But now that you have this podcast, you know, your target.
Well, I'll tell for sure. But I'll tell you this, like, I was thinking about this drive, and I'm like, all right, how many people, residents that use it, whether they know it's illegal or not? Most people don't know it's illegal. I've had arguments with them. I'm like, it's illegal. You can't use it. It's like, yeah, you can. They sell it. I'm like, no, you can use it. But I bet you, I'll throw out a bold number. This might start an argument somewhere. I bet you 65% of Illinois residents are using supplemental feed. And by supplemental feed, I mean like salt or mineral lake.
What do you think it's in Nebraska? All your neighbors.
It's pretty high.
Yeah.
Well, dude, I know outfitters that not necessarily like in proximity to the studio, but I hunt more places than, you know, I'll drive a couple hours to hunt, of course. There's outfitters, and I know, like, you go to their Facebook page, and every 150 standing there in full velvet in the middle of the timber licking his lips for 25 minutes. It's like, yeah, that's not what big deer do in July. He's salting it up, you know. It's like, it's being used, right? But anyway, I'll have to check on the water thing. It wouldn't surprise me if it's legal. If it's legal, I'm going to try it. I got a spot. It's just like getting it filled for me is an issue, you know.
You know, you can even buy one of the tanks I have. It's like a 60-gallon tank I bought from Baumgars.
Yeah, that's what I use to fill.
He throws it in the back of his Suburban.
Oh,
that works nice.
Just back up to the
tank, open it up, you get 60 gallons at a time.
Oh yeah, because I actually have I have one at my house. I've been wanting to remove the old hippies that lived in my house before I did. They had a massive garden, and they let their downspouts fill one of them tanks to water their garden.
Yep.
So I'm just gonna rob that thing, and if legal.
Yeah. Well, what could you be out? Nothing.
It'd be interesting to try. I more just want to put a camera over it to experiment.
Oh yeah.
Really, it's like if the deer use it, they gotta use it.
They do. Like I put the one on the muddy plot, and the amount of wildlife that showed up. You know, you had badgers, coons, squirrels.
Yeah.
You know, deer, turkeys exploded. You know, skunks all the time. But yeah, the wildlife just flocked to it.
Yeah.
How far are you from the river? He's right on a river.
I'm from that spot and probably 150 yards from a big river. And
really?
There's springs all the way around, but it's in the central of that food plot where they're coming to hit the mossy oak clover.
Yeah.
And they're coming there, and it got reconics on it. Great pictures.
Get everything they need in one spot.
You know.
Yeah, it's a convenience factor. They're already going to the plot. Give them everything they need.
Yep.
You're not out anything other than a little bit of work, and if you watch Cody's Instagram videos, maybe get buffed out a little bit, you know.
Get a full tanks of water.
Get your workout for the day in.
It's pretty easy digging on my property that I get to hunt because it's basically river sand. So this year I dug a tank in and.
What kind of river are we talking? Like, how big a river? Like, what do we? Don't give away your spot, but
big. Not Mississippi or Missouri River, but
I don't know how wide. I mean, well, it's the Niobrara River in Nebraska.
Don't know that one, but
it's a pretty major river.
Yeah, a couple hundred yards across.
It's more than that.
Oh, okay, so it's a river.
It's a river. I mean, it's
real
maybe
shallow,
but foot deep, but yeah, it's
cool. And the water it would have to make a big difference. Sorry, I'm sitting here. I'm just so interested in water.
Yeah,
it works.
It works. And like the last few years, our food plots have been zilch because of the drought.
Yeah.
You know, so going into the last season is focusing water. What can I do to make the food plot a little bit better that's not going to grow? Is water.
The only thing we can get to grow the last couple of years is the Green Patch Plus, the rye and that. And, we're just broadcasting because everything else is dead.
Oh, man. That's a bummer.
It's been tough.
So let's talk about this a little bit. I mean, so some of that prep, I think, is great conversations, great stuff to think about, especially entering anything that benefits you in your entering exit. I think that's like the most important thing. But, all right, during deer season, you get there. And I'm going to ask you the same question on the next episode because we're co-hosts, but we're just kind of like, this is fun.
Round table.
Brian, you specifically, what's something you look for? Like, what's your favorite deer sign to focus energy on? Whether it's a scrape or rub, what's your thing that gets you going? Oh man, I got to get there's some sign over here. I got to go over there. Or what do you focus on the most?
Honestly, I would say funnels. It's not necessarily deer sign, but those funnels are going to have them.
Yes.
Rubs are neat because you can see which side they're rubbing it on. I've always been a guy, bingo, right? Yep. Where are they coming from? And usually if they're bedding all day, they're a little bit more rambunctious. So I would assume that they're bedding and going, right?
Okay. Yep.
Now, granted, it could be the opposite. That's how they get back.
I like the way you put that. Okay.
But for us anyway, we're a lot more open, and so I've always been a big proponent of funnels, especially during the rut. I guided for 10 years, and that's how we kill a lot of deer. Is we focused on the funnels. And if you sit there long enough, scent free, it's going to happen.
Yeah. Terrain. Yeah. Everything you do everything right. So I'm gonna take that answer as rubs and funnels is your terrain feature. Rub is your deer sign.
I would
funnels is your
put
tree.
more emphasis on scrape than a rub. If
So
I
you're
had
switching.
to choose. Yeah, I would. The rubs are
basically
cool,
what
right? They make me feel better about myself.
Yeah.
But, I would focus on a scrape if I had to choose.
Okay.
Especially those big community scrapes seems like they work well. And you'll notice too, a lot of especially during the rut, the big bucks will, they'll work close, but they won't actually go in, especially at first. You'll see them maybe a little bit downwind and then, but yeah, for us at least, but they're there in the funnels, right?
Yeah.
It just makes you more confident to sit there, especially before, all the cameras that we have now. You're hunting sign, you're hunting, funnels, you're hunting those things. And, when we guided, I had the blessing of, there's 7 guys sitting in stands right now. I'm learning from every one of those. And probably the biggest thing I learned guiding is be aggressive. When in doubt, be aggressive. Move that stand, I had one story I have. It's actually the same plot that we had the encounter with Western Camp on. I have this tree stand, and it's been traditionally the best stand ever, right? We had this big deer coming to the spot, and I went in midday, moved this stand 4 times, middle of the day, 4 days in a row. And then the guy from Virginia shot a 164-inch deer that had 4 broken points.
Jeez.
This was when Nebraska was good.
It's no good. I mean, Illinois sucks now too. No, don't even come to hunt here.
No, I'm not saying that. I shot the biggest deer on our farm last year. It was a 5-year-old 143-inch deer. And not joke. I mean, I'm not joking.
Like you're being for real. Like you're not just
100% for real.
What
I
changed?
like hunting other states a lot better.
What changed?
EHD. I mean, it knocked out 90% of our deer.
I think it's because the drought. It got harsher.
It's hard to say. They're just all I can say is they're not there. There's more people clearing trees out.
Yeah, less habitat. EHD in 12, rifle season during the rut.
Yeah.
Anything that moves gets shot. There's a lot of factors that.
Yeah, they're just not there. You should, if you're ever in there, I'll tour you, and you would not believe. Especially when I used to still have a lot of the leases and a lot of the ground. I'd hunt 2,000 to 3,000 acres by myself for nothing but deer hunting, and I couldn't kill a deer. It was amazing.
Really?
It was disheartening. I'd go to another state and I'd see 5 shooters and 5 sits.
Yeah.
You must have been in Iowa.
Nope.
No.
You weren't in Illinois.
No, wasn't in Illinois.
Yeah, that's right. New Hampshire is what we usually say.
Yeah.
Connecticut is making a comeback,
Yeah.
Comeback. I don't know if they were ever.
But, it's just, it's coming back. I mean, obviously, the last 2 years I've killed 2 bucks. It's a 2-buck state, and last year was the first year I killed 2 Nebraska bucks since I don't remember the last year that's been. Maybe 10, 15 years ago. It's been that long.
Really? Okay. I want to close out with this question for this first episode. We're kind of doing, it's more of like a 2-part series we're doing than anything. But, what's your favorite DeerCast tool to utilize during season?
Ooh.
And you guys have to have different answers. I'm going to ask you this question.
So, hey, I got to go first. The thing I love about DeerCast is the days not to hunt. I killed the deer bighorn last year, and we were planning. It was a Sunday evening.
You read DeerCast backwards, don't you?
The days not to hunt. I'm telling you. So
it's a great way to look at it, I think.
Mm-hmm. And for me, it's great because I have 3 little kids, a very busy work life, and so we're not just going out there willy nilly. We're on a mission. And so it was a Sunday night, September 18th or something. Cody and I were going to go out because DeerCast was good, and it had been good. And then all of a sudden, it downgraded to okay, and so we called it off that night. Because we could see the following, it was a Wednesday. We could see the following Wednesday is like great. It's like through the roof great.
Yeah.
And so we circled that Wednesday night on the calendar, and we saw our target deer and then a bigger deer and shot the bigger deer.
It's hard to argue with right there.
And that bigger deer we hadn't had a picture of on the plot. We had just a week before had him about 400 yards away off the plot, one picture. And then, bam, he comes in the plot that night, and we smoked him. So
awesome. Well, I think, I love that answer. And I think, yes, that's a huge, huge perk. But I think where the, excuse my language here, the general egotistical hunter D-bag, I was nice about it.
That's a nice way to put it.
Will comment I'm not going to let an app tell me not to hunt. I'm going hunting. Well, but you know, your point proves like why you should utilize it and do what you do, you know, but I think that's the issue, that people like won't just like admit the good in like a predictive tool like this. Like,
it's like, just like anything, if you're driving down the highway, you know when you're driving too fast, you know when you're not, but you have a speedometer there to help you see how fast you're going, right?
Yeah.
You know, use the tools at hand. Obviously, your intuition and if you have a deer patterning and it's DeerCast bad, go hunt him. You can kill him on that day, right?
Newsflash, Mark and Terry can't predict every deer that moves or doesn't move on your farm.
But I'm telling you, as a rule of thumb, it's right on. And when I was a younger hunter, I could never put my thumb on like the high pressure and the moon thing. Could never put my thumb on it.
Yeah.
Until the Drury's really started saying that, and it's like, you know, that aha moment, angel singing in the background. Yeah. It works, and I understand. Yeah, I mean, I understand that point of view too.
I get it, man, but you don't got to be a D-bag about it. You know,
I would say that. To say that it's I think it is a lot of ego. You know,
it is, yeah.
Take the tool, and if you don't want to use it, don't subscribe. But for me, man, I love it because it really helps me keep pressure off the properties, and that's probably been the biggest thing for me, is learning how to stay off the properties and striking when it matters.
Yep.
We hunt way less than we used to,
way less.
and we're way more effective now.
You're hunting with purpose.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Hunting with purpose. So
I think that's the biggest thing for me. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but like I've become more efficient with my sits for the same reason, you know. And I think DeerCast is a major factor in that. But
I mean, last year's a testament. We hunted 4 times, boom, killed a monster.
Yeah.
143-inch deer. But
hey,
monster to us.
Hey, it's a monster.
It's a monster.
He's 5 years old.
Hey, it's a monster. No matter what's on set. Mature deer is what matters, you know.
Yep.
Exactly.
Well, boys, this is fun. It's a good episode. We had a full day of fun planned here at the studio. So appreciate you guys coming out. It's a fun episode. You're next, man.
Oh boy, on the hot seat.
Now we're just gonna grill him way worse.
Now we do
Where can people find you guys?
You know, Instagram, Brian Wiese _ Drury Outdoors. Critical Mass will be airing this summer, starting right around July 1st. We're on Tuesday nights, 9:30. And first episode, guess what we get to see? The same hunt we just talked about.
Awesome.
So check it out on the Outdoor Channel.
Cool. You want to plug your Instagram and stuff real quick?
Just Cody Sirek _ Drury Outdoors.
Cool. Awesome. Appreciate it, fellas.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in, watching, listening. You know what to do. Go shoot a giant. We love you. Peace.